What it do? This is your brother Bishop of Bishop Zone TV, and today's topic, I gotta go to school on them real quick. I gotta talk about this pretendian Chief Dalloway, Kane Dalloway. That's what we'll call him, Kane Dalloway. Or we can just call him by his original nickname, Young Diesel, aka failed DMV rapper. But before I go into dissecting a couple of videos, I'm not gonna be too long on this guy. I'm not gonna be too long on this individual, this caricature. But I thought before I go really in and break down a couple of his videos, I said, you know what? Let me explain to the people, because some of you people might not know who this person is specifically. So let's go to the source. So I'm on his website, and he explains who he is. He's an American educator, author, film editor, film writer, film producer, well-respected historian, and an unorthodox researcher. Jesus, you got all those accolades, huh? Now, he did say he had 10 plus years of experience in these specific fields pertaining to American Indian history, African American history, blah, 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 blue, blue, blue. Well, at what point within that 10 years plus was he actually experienced in that field, or those particular fields? Because judging from this video here, I'm not seeing it. I'm not understanding when you had this plethora of experience. See, Mr. Dalloway, from what I gathered on his YouTube video, and maybe he has older YouTube videos pertaining to this specific information, he popped up on the scene about 5 years ago. And we have videos of him from 10 years ago when he was a rapper who went by the name of Young Diesel. Not Young Chief Nikawa, not Young Turtle Islander, but Young Diesel. And his lyrics did not suggest any type of affinity for studying American Indian history, African American history, or alternative history that you don't get in public school systems all across America. That was not in his repertoire. But I'm not here to discuss specifically about his failed rap career. What I'm here to do is go into some of these videos I've seen.
Okay, so now, keep in mind that that was 2 years ago. And believe it or not, this website was changed multiple times to the point where now it even looks different. Does that same information that I shared 2 years ago still exist on his website? Yep, it sure does. And still, the creators of this website never bothered to share where exactly they retrieved their information from. But during their most current video about their website, specific people are placed in the forefront telling you how they created and cultivated this website, along with the information it presents from theories, opinions, and ideas, which is formed on the basis of conceptualism. Listen closely to the words that are being stated in this video that I'm about to play. Okay? I'm going to point out the trigger words and phrases that will indicate whenever something has been created by the use of imagination.
The slavevoyages.org website has now completed 10 years of successful operation, drawing on 4 decades of archival research on 5 continents, a revolution in computer processing costs, and with major funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities and the UK's Arts and Humanities Research Board, the site now offers access to details of more than 36,000 slave trading voyages between Africa and the New World, a further 11,400 voyages from one part of the Americas to another part of the Americas, and 92,000 Africans who were forced to make these voyages.
Now wait, hold up, wait. Let's stop right here for a second. Henry Louis Gates Jr. just said a number that does not reflect the initial slave trade storyline as we were told. Weren't we forced to believe that 12.5 million enslaved Africans were brought to the Americas between the 1500s and the late 1800s? But he is saying that they have researched a total number of 92,000 Africans.
All right. Now, I want y'all to see this right here. Y'all heard what he said, right? They changed it from 12 million to 92,000, right? Well, we see right here on the front page of slavevoyages.org, it still says it's 12 million. It's 12 million African people. Now let's scroll down. Let's see where he's getting this 90,000. As you can see, it's Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, Intra-American Slave Trade Database. Oh, okay. Let's stop right here. People of the African Slave Trade Database. Now, as we can see, the people of the African Slave Trade databases provide personal details on 91,491 enslaved people. Okay, let me break that down again. The people of the African Slave Trade databases provide personal details on 91,491 enslaved people. Y'all, he's getting that 92,000 from that right there. It's obvious this dude just digests a lot of information and sensationalism, but he lacks comprehension skills, because they explain it perfectly right here that they've done personal research on 91,000+ enslaved people. That's doing research on 91 out of 12 million enslaved people. How does he not get that? That's a common theme of his, where he just twists words around and take things out of context. One thing that he says in his video, that he does in his video, is that instead of talking about the actual data that's provided, like the dates, the names of the vessels, the places of origin, instead of going into detail to really try to counter that with his misinformation, he skips over that and actually goes and instead of talking about that, he talks about irrelevant things that has nothing to do with the actual data that's provided on this website, because he couldn't refute any of that evidence. He couldn't refute any of the data. He just can't. It's too much. He can't even refute 2% of it. That's why he chose to focus on words being used and other irrelevant things that had nothing to do with the actual data displayed on the website. And you can look at this information yourself. I encourage people to look at this information yourself. Do your own research, but come at research with a open mind, without the confirmation bias. It just come at it from an objective place, because this shit right here is ridiculous, man. This is easy work right here.
Now, some of you may have heard 350,000, or somewhere along that same line, 300,000, a little bit more, or maybe even 3 to 5%, which should make you wonder if any of these depictions or assumptions are even remotely accurate or truthful, for that matter.
The role of slave voyages as the basic reference tool for the slave trade to the Americas and now within the Americas is well established. Users can now analyze data, sample estimates of the slave trade, view videos, maps, and animations, consult research essays, contribute corrections to existing data, and add information on voyages that the editors don't even know about.
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa! Mara Elliott! Wow! What the fuck was that? Like, damn, dude. He was feeling that shit. He thought boy, god damn, he thought he discovered a gold mine with that one, huh? Oh, whoa, whoa. That's just called being honest. Something that this guy doesn't know anything about. He's just being honest and saying, look, people who are, and look, I'm not going to put words in his mouth. He's saying, look, you can contribute information that the editors might not have, or maybe they've missed. It's a collection of databases. It's a collection of information, a collaborative collection of information from reputable people that spans, what, 5 continents. It's a collaborative effort, not one person that's claiming to dismantle this plethora of information, 10 years worth of information. Because in that same time frame, you were not getting that information. You were not putting out that information. You were rapping about slanging drugs to your community. And you went by the name of Young Diesel, a failed struggle rapper out of DC. Don't worry, man. I was there too. I used to rap too. I was pretty dope though. My quality was pretty good though.
He said, contribute corrections to existing data and add information on voyages that the editors don't even know about. That should sound familiar to you, because what website allows anyone to contribute any information to existing data without the editor's knowledge? Wikipedia, exactly. Because anyone is allowed to create an account and add any information to articles on their website, even if it's sourced from non-working or non-existing links. Which means that anyone can be an editor of the information presented on their website and add anything they want to the existing information without having to prove it before it becomes available to the public.
For more on these new features, we need to turn to those involved in the project.
The new major feature of the Slave Voyage website is this intra-American slave trade database that Greg O'Malley from University of California, Santa Cruz, and myself have been organizing and coordinating during the past 2 years, thanks to a National Endowment of Humanities grants. This new database adds intra-American slave voyages. That means slave voyages happening within the Americas, from Curacao to Venezuela, from Barbados to South Carolina, from Jamaica to Mexico. This new database on the intra-American slave trade shows the importance of Spanish America, the Spanish colonies in the Americas, because a good number of these enslaved Africans arrived from other parts to the Americas.
The new interface is a lot slicker and speedier. Users will probably not perceive that while we were updating it, but we do hope that they will notice in the future. In addition to these improvements in the user interface, we also added about 1,200 new voyages to the database and new information about some 4,000 voyages that we already had since 2008.
Can someone please explain to me why is it that he's adding emphasis to certain words? See, I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to be theatrical because he understands that the general public responds to sensationalism and theatrics. But this shit makes no sense. Does he not understand the concept of new discovery? That actually defeats the purpose of his whole platform, because what? He's giving us, quote unquote, new information, new discoveries that has been kept from us.
Emory has been the only institution responsible for supporting the website. But in order to make it more sustainable into the future, we are building this new consortium of universities that will help maintain the website, update it, and further developed into the future so other generations will be able to use the website.
So I've been part of the project since 2006, and one of the facets that I'm working on now is the development of the 3D animation of a slave ship, an 18th century ship known as the L'Aurore, which carried over 600 enslaved Africans to Saint-Domingue, or modern-day Haiti. The animation depicts the ship prior to slaves being placed on board. And so...
Now wait a minute. He put such an emphasis on depicts. Now, I'm going to show y'all the hypocrisy in him putting an emphasis on depicts as if that negates the probability that transatlantic slave trade actually existed to the extent that they're saying it did. I'm going to show y'all how he uses depictions to back up his claims. Take a look.
Changing particular historic objects that could possibly tell a completely different story from what is considered to be the norm of what is commonly known. For example, this fresco-style painting was produced and published by a Spanish-Italian painter named Giovanni Battista Tiepolo during the year of 1752. And his painting depicts what the inhabitants of the American continent looked like during this time period. The written description of this painting was later translated into English as, quote, "The personification of the American continent rides on a huge crocodile. With her naked upper torso and feathered headdress, she represents the uncivilized world. She is surrounded by people characterized as wild creatures who hunt with bow and arrow. The figure reclining below her holds a horn of plenty as a symbol of the riches and fertility of this part of the world, which was of the greatest interest to the Europeans." End quote. But what is also important to note here is that this painting was drastically changed, then later republished to look like this. Which should make you wonder, why would anyone go out of their way to change a simple painting from what it originally looked like? Throughout my years of investigative research, I discovered a common pattern that is religiously used by...
We get a sense of what these slaves would endure on their 2-month journey during the Middle Passage. You're able to see through the camera different parts of the ship and follow from the different holding cells, the different components and features of the ship, as well as a time sense of a day and night cycle.
The Indian Ocean slave trade substantially predated the transatlantic slave trade and continued for much longer. Yet up until now, it's been less studied by scholars, and in fact, the true scale of the transatlantic is far more well known than the Indian Ocean slave trade. Scholars at the International Institute of Social History in Amsterdam recently held a conference where they brought together scholars that focus on a variety of geographic areas to uncover areas where we can expand our research and share our knowledge about voyages in the Indian Ocean and maritime Asia.
They've secured some seed money to put together a database within the next 8 to 10 years.
By using the transatlantic slave trade database as a model, scholars working together, sharing data, and
putting the transatlantic slave trade in better context.
I'd like to stress a slightly different future prospect for the site, and that is in switching the emphasis on the site from maritime transportation to the people associated with the slave trade. And this would include both the enslaved and those enslavers that were organizing the business. And the starting point for this is actually a grant the Andrew Mellon Foundation gave us an award to investigate anybody that was associated with the slave trades in both the Atlantic and in the Americas. with the idea of identifying who those people were. If you look at the existing site, we have in fact got a good starting base in the form of details on 92,000 Africans, as well as 31,000 owners of slave ships and slave captains. And we plan to expand in the sense of adding other occupations to this, including people who bought slaves and sold slaves. And it's not just the identification, it's the filling in of some biographical detail. Basic things like obviously age and sex, but also family connections, and basically open up a whole new vista for research.
Now I love that he questions their characters. He's questioning their motives, which I'm not saying you shouldn't question their motives. But nobody's above criticism and nobody's above questioning. And especially in our community, we probably should question those who are alleged plagiarists, who also have been sued for not only plagiarizing, allegedly, but also taking credit for people's pictures and also lying about having family members on certain covers of books only to make profit off the people, make profit off of people's ignorance. Should we trust these people? Because I'm here to give you the proof that it's actually a lawsuit that's been filed against this Dane Calloway character, this Cain Dalloway character. Oops. Here, take a look with me. Okay, now, your boy Cain Dalloway got into some trouble, some legal trouble, with this book that he wrote right here. Now, you can only find it on Thrift Books, but it was on Amazon.com and whatnot. So it's called Tracing Your Family's Genealogical History by Records, right? As you see, it's by Dane Calloway. It's only available on Thrift Books. It's not available on his website. And you want to know why this book is not available on his website? It's because the woman that you see on that book cover right there is not his actual relative. That woman, the person, as you see right here, filed a lawsuit. Now, this person, who I believe is related to that person that he used, claiming that it's his relative, filed a lawsuit against your boy Dalloway. Yeah, this is real. This is real right here. You can look this up. This is real paperwork right here. This is real information. I'm just scrolling through it, as you can see. And this was in the state of New York, by the way. I want y'all to get a real good look at that. You can look up all this information, as you see. See the plaintiff? I think her name is Celeste. And of course, Dane Calloway and his wife is the defendant. Would you trust somebody who allegedly plagiarizes information, allegedly lies about family members, all in the name of selling a book? Also use a famous photographer's picture without even getting her cosign. Let's look into that. This right here, I want y'all to see this review. This was on Amazon. This is a photographer that goes by the name of Jonah Sternbach. And I want y'all to read that comment right there. You see that? You see that? Now, I want to tell y'all who this photographer is, because she's actually a famous photographer. I believe she's from New York. Let's put up her information. Now, I want y'all to see Jonah Sternbach. She received an MA in photography from the International Center for Photography at New York University. This is the photographer that left a comment on his Amazon page, which if you look on Amazon and you type in Dan Calloway, you won't see that book anymore. And it's a reason why you won't see that book. on Amazon and his website. And that's who you trust. You trust this type of person. This person also blocks people's comments who opposes his views. He turns comments off on certain videos. If you go back and look, you can see that he turns comments off. And he's allegedly gotten people's YouTube channels taken down. Hopefully he doesn't take mine down, because it's gonna be some problems. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Y'all, be careful who you trust. It's as simple as that. They're easily led astray. And you wanna know how I know? Because these are the same group of people who were led astray by Dr. York and the Nuwaubians while he was out there allegedly molesting women and children. He's still in prison to this day. A whole bunch of people followed this man to Georgia. It's the same black folks who followed a white man named Jim Jones to a town that he created in another country called Jonestown. And a lot of these people voluntarily drank poisonous Kool-Aid because he gave them the word of God. You know, black people want something to feel good about. A lot of our people are still enslaved in the mind. You see how they say we, because it ain't me, it's y'all. Boy, if it ain't Creflo Dollar, TD Jakes, then you got the dang Callaways. Boy, our people love some charismatic motherfuckers. Lie to me. That's all they want you to do. They just want you to lie to them, make them feel good. And Dan Calloway makes people feel good. Because to consider yourself African and how it's been marketed by the Western media, by the West in general, ever since we got here, how it's been dehumanized and bastardized, villainized. And who wants to be associated with that? But if you replace African with Native American, something that by their standards is considered somewhat regal, considered more human now than Africans. Not then, of course, but now, today. It's more majestic. Then you'll follow suit. You don't have to back it up with any credible information. You just back it up with sensationalism and add in a couple of motivational quotes to make the people feel real good about themselves. Again, I'm not going to go all the way in on this cat because I don't need to. If you still believe this dude, which I know a lot of y'all are, I know my people. Gullible as fuck, enslaved in the mind to this day. Class is over with. Thank you. I appreciate you. Like and subscribe. And I'm ready for all the dislikes. I'm ready for all the nasty comments that these chief nigga-wise, these nigga-nachis. And shouts out to Pan-Africanism Strikes Back. Brandon, hey, I gotta give you credit, brother. I actually found out about the lawsuit through him, watching his video a couple months ago. So I gotta give credit where credit is due. I posted up one of his links right there. So y'all go follow Pan-Africanism Strikes Back. And until next time, holla at your brother. Get at me.